Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I am Mahdi Ghodsi, an economist from the Vienna Institute for International Economic Studies, and welcome to today's event with the title Migrants, Networks and Regional Trade, Evidence from European Regions. And today's presenter is Evgenii actually, I'm sorry for not pronouncing it correctly, Monastyrenko from University of Luxembourg. And this event is part of the series of seminars in international economics, which are organized by the Vienna Institute for International Economic Studies and in cooperation with Research Center in International Economics, or FIW. The two past seminars that were held in the past 2 months, that were supposed to be held in the past 2 months, were not successfully organized because the presenters had illness. I also had illness myself. So it's after 3 months that we are seeing each other again. And I'm happy to be with you again. And this time we have another interesting seminar. And these seminars in international economics are actually intended to be a forum of presentation and discussion of current research findings in the field of international economics, with three major topics of international trade and trade policy, foreign direct investment, and migration. And some housekeeping rules is that usually the events will take about 30 to 40 minutes. That will be followed by about 20 minutes of Q&A session. And during the presentation, actually, participants have the opportunity to ask the questions. You know, it's good if you type your questions in the chat function, or if your question is very pressing and if it is related to a better understanding of the seminar, it's very good if you raise your hand, then I will ask you to ask your question or unmute yourself to ask your question. But if the question is not very pressing and it can wait until the end of the session, then please type your question and I will collect your questions. I will ask you at the end of the session to unmute yourself or even to show your faces and ask your questions and raise your comments. And after the event, there will be an online survey that will be sent by email to you. And I hope that we will receive some feedback from you in order to have a better feedback from you. It means that we can also improve our seminars in the future, and also we can select better topics that fit somehow the ongoing things that are important. And it's an important note that I have to make is that the event of today will be recorded, and then at the end, after a few days, it will be uploaded on FIW-wiiw YouTube channel, so that anyone who is missing this seminar can see this seminar in the future. And also to introduce Evgenii. So Evgenii, I know Evgenii from some years ago in 2017. He was doing a visiting research at FIW-wiiw for I think about 3 months. And it was the time that he was finalizing his PhD at, his PhD was in international economics, and it was from the Paris School of Economics and also Sorbonne University. And in September 2018, he defended his PhD, and then he became a postdoc researcher at University of Luxembourg. And his research field is focused on international trade and development economics. And he also did some recent works on quality of traded goods, quality of products in international trade, and also in general equilibrium models. And he just recently had a nice publication in Journal of International Economics, which was focusing on sanctions against Russian economy. So thank you, Evgenii, for accepting the request for presenting at our seminar. And it's a very interesting topic that you chose, and we look forward to hearing what you will tell us. Floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mahdi, for this great organization and the opportunity to present this paper. And thank you for the nice introduction. Looking forward to listening to some of your comments. So my today's topic is about the intersection between the migration and the international trade. And this paper is a joint work with Cem Özgüzel. He is currently working at the OECD, and I have to say that OECD has nothing to do with this research. OECD does not support nor endorse any opinions inside this paper. This paper is our own research. So the question of the link between international trade and international migration has been already addressed several times under several degrees, under several angles. So we try to attack this question yet again, and we think that there is yet something to explore at the regional level. So what do we mean by regional level? For us, the regions are the European regions. So we present cross-section evidence from the trade between European regions, and also of the trade from European region and to European regions, and to or from the other countries in the world. And so we try to sum up some of this evidence, and we try to disentangle some channels behind the link. The past evidence suggested that basically the migrants should boost trade flows from their host countries. So there was a number of research that showed that basically migrants are highly concentrated in certain regions within countries. But there is almost no evidence about the subnational level. So what is going on at the subnational level within the country, etc., etc. So we believe that there is still a room to contribute, and that we actually contribute. So the question I already articulated: how do migrants contribute to the trade flows of the host region? So the migrants are coming somewhere from abroad. It could be in a European country or outside of the Europe country. And those migrants are coming to the host country, to a European country, and most importantly, they are coming to a certain host region. And we observe trade, exports and imports for each host region where the migrants are settled. So we have a cross-section for 2013, and we have quite a number of the European regions across a number of European countries. I will show them on the map. By region, we will pick a NUTS2 region, not NUTS1 generally, but sometimes for some countries, we are obliged to pick NUTS1 region because the NUTS2 either doesn't exist or we don't have precise information for them. Then we use the regional trade flows and the EU LFS migration data. So we combine the both. And also we use some national sources of the data about the migrants. So for example, the one is provided by the German Department of Statistics. Then our empirical strategy is pretty much straightforward. We exploit special variation in immigrants' presence across European regions, and we try to explain the differences in observed trade flows. And we use the instruments based on past settlement, Shiftshare. So we are trying to at least claim for some traces of causality. So now let me briefly introduce you to the context of research literature, where the literature is. So we carefully Googled, we used the different journals as well, and these are all the papers up to the date, and we conclude that basically there is still room to contribute. So if you know any other papers on this topic, you're welcome to suggest any new reference. Overall, there is a bunch of papers such as Gould in 1994, Rauch and Trindade 2002, Felber-Meyer and Tubal 2012. which have pretty much well demonstrated that the total trade flows are increased by the migrants. So this is not a surprise, and usually this is either the theoretical model that shows it, or there is one country demonstration, or some set of some countries together in a kind of a panel or a cross-section with many countries, but nothing to do with the regions. Then we have a limited literature focusing on the contribution of migrants to subnational trade flows. And here, everything that we could have found published up to the moment. So Wagner et al., 2002 for Canadian provinces. Then there are, of course, 3 papers about US states. Herander and Saavedra, 2005, Parsons and Vizino, pretty much known paper, 2018, and Steingres, 2018, and all of them are about the US states. And then why do people research about the US states? Mostly the reason is either they are affiliated with some institutions in the states, or most likely they have very rich data available for the US states. But what about the left of the world? Not Canada, not the US states, maybe Europe, where we have a lot of migrants, where we have a lot of heterogeneous regions, and those regions might be much more heterogeneous than the states in the US or the provinces in Canada. So then we found only one paper. This is Briand et al., 2014, for French provinces, right? So this is just one country, subnational evidence for one country. Right, and then we believe that our 2 names will be written next and as a line number 4, so that we investigate across multiple regions in Europe, and we investigate how the migrants actually boost the imports and exports. Okay, so we claim that this is first cross-country evidence at the regional level. That's our contribution. So let me briefly talk about the data. So we use a novel data by Poisson et al., 2019. Has not been that much used up to the moment. So they have trade flows originating from 267 NUTS 2 regions across 28 EU member states in just 1 year. And we hope to get also the other year, 2017, but we did not yet receive this data. So for a moment, this is a cross-section. So unfortunately, we could not explore a lot of the variation across the time. So basically just 1 year, and then we hope that we would be able to compare 1 year to another year. Then we have trade flows between EU regions, most importantly, and we investigate mostly this subsample, but also we have 61 partner countries. So those partner countries don't have regions. We observe just one country. So for example, China or US or Canada will be one country outside of the EU. Although EU region will be Paris, or for example, Vienna will be 2 different regions inside our data set between the regions. Then we have export and import flows in euros, disaggregated by intermediate or final demand goods and services. So we observe also sectors, and so we know which sector sends how much of the goods or receives how much of the good from a certain region or from a certain country, and we export this variation. Then we construct kind of quasi-gravity specification, and for this we use a number of the geographical variables from CP dataset, which is publicly available, which is called gravity by CP. So there we have geographical distance, trade facilitation measures, RTA. So it's a dummy whether there is an RTA between country of origin and country of destination. proxies for cultural proximity, contiguity, language, colonial links, and proxies for sizes, GDP of origin and destination. Right, so those variables are for countries, although we also collect some number of the variables for regions themselves. So for example, GDP of origin region. And we also have some micro-regional level controls that we are trying to play around. Not all the results yet are stable for those controls. I will show you the evidence about which we are more or less sure. So those two blocks of the literature, of the data was about the trade flow and also the gravity controls, gravity components. Yet I need to speak about the migration data. So those are population stocks. So we have a stock of the migrants in a given year, either the year 2013, when the actual trade flow was observed, or some past year for which we use the observed number of migrants. It could be either 2005, or we tried year 2000, or also we tried the year 1990. So those years are used for in the construction of the instruments. From where we get the data? We got the data from EU LFS. This is kind of a very known source of the data, kind of detailed, sometimes criticized. And then we also used from the data, we directly purchased the data from the German Statistics Office, the Statist, I think it's called, and Federal Statistical Office. And so we are at least sure that those numbers in the for Germany are absolutely correct, and basically they are somehow closely correlated with what we have in the EU LFS. So for Germany, we have two sources of the data. We also use the numbers of natives on top of the migrants. We control for the natives so that this is what is sometimes done in the literature. Let's have a look at how the data is presented on the map. So for most of the regions that we have in the data, I successfully painted the map, but a couple of the regions are still missing due to some mismatch in the filling in on the correct region on the map, but just for technical purposes, but I'm working on that. But for a moment, what could I tell about this map is that most of EU regions are covered, most of EU 28 regions are covered by our data, except for some countries. Yeah, for example, Luxembourg is not painted here, but we have the data for Luxembourg. So these are trade flows, and the trade flows goes as following. So we have a EU 28 region, we call it O in our notation, O for region, right? And then we have EU 28 region D, which is destination, then we call it D. But also those D and O's are located somewhere. So O is located in country I, and D is located in country J, right? So the trade flow is going from I to J, like in the theoretical papers, right? So they always have some IJ whatever index. So here we also have IJ index, and also we have OD. So it's important that there are those dimensions. Then this is one type of the trade flow that we have, but also we have another type from O, region O in country J, to non-EU country, region O in country I to non-EU country J. And then we don't have the dimension D in this case. So either the trade flow between region EU 28 to region EU 28 between I and J, or between still I and J, but from O to just OI to J. So those are dimensions. We try on both combinations. We try combining those two subsamples with this trade flows, or we try them separately, whatever. So in any combination. So let's have a look at the specification. So we have this trade flow, country I to country J, from region O to region J, assuming that now we are looking at the specification for between region to region, between EU28 to EU28 trade. And then we have what? We have MIO. This is total stock of migrants in EU28 region O. Then we have total stock of NIO, the natives, in the same I, origin of the trade, not origin of the migrant, but origin of the trade, and also in region O. And then we have some set of gravity controls, IJ, between the countries. Then we also augmented by some regional characteristics of the regions of origin or of the region of destination. Then those characteristics will be either or D. That was first specification that we test, mostly naive because we have aggregated total number of migrants. So any migrant from any origin, just the sum. So for example, in Vienna, there could be some migrants from across the EU countries or outside of EU countries, just sum up together. And also what we do is that we test the impact of the migrants from a certain origin, right? So then we have we add one more index, MIOJ, meaning J in red here, staying for basically the origin of the individual or of the group of the individuals from where they are coming from.
Sorry, Evgenii.
Yes.
Wasn't it that O stands for origin and D stands for destination?
Yes.
I exporter, J importer. Then it's here you have only the labor stocks or migrant stocks in the origin, right? You don't have migrant stock in the destination anymore.
No, just at the origin. Yes.
Why is that?
Yeah, we also could try at the destination. Why not? Yeah, we could. Yeah, but we didn't. We simply didn't test for it because for the EU countries, we are looking mostly for the exports. So we are assuming the following channel, that basically the migrants are coming either in their sum of migrants, a certain mass of migrants, all migrants are coming to a certain destination. And this becomes the origin of the trade. And then the more migrants we have, the more there should be export from this origin. That's a key idea. And then we are splitting them across different, the migrants from different origins. And then the logic will be as following. We assume that every migrant from every origin will be trying to build up a network together and will try to basically communicate more with the country of the origin. And then, and then there will be more business, more trade between the origin of the migrant and the host country of this migrant. So that's the logic. Thank you for idea. Maybe we should also try the migrant, the number of the migrants from the given origin of trade at the destination of the trade. So then there will be MJOI in this case, plus one more. Yeah, we did not try this, although there are some limitations. So first limitation is that we have just the migrants for the total stocks of migrants only for EU28 regions. So we could not repeat this exercise for just any destination. So for example, for China, we could not repeat this. But instead, if we subsample for just EU28 to EU28, then that's absolutely fine. We should try it probably. Then the other limit that I forgot to mention is that very detailed information about the origins of migrants. This is what we are mostly interested about, because we would like to test for networks effect. This network effect, this is what we are expecting. Basically, this data, very detailed data, is available for a moment for 3 countries. So this is France, and this is Germany, and this is Spain. And also for Italy, the data collection is in the progress, so that for those 3 countries plus 1, it's possible to know which migrant come from where, and how many, for example, Italians are living in France, or how many Chinese are living in France or in a given region, right? Although the data does not allow us to do this, for example, for just any other country like UK. For the UK, unfortunately, we don't have this detailed information. Maybe the data is available, but we did not manage to find the usable data source. Okay, so yeah, I already got one suggestion to try this. We will try in the next versions of this paper, and I just wanted to insist that this paper is kind of preliminary, saying very preliminary, and so any comment or suggestion is of course welcome. Okay, so assuming that I am clear enough about those 2 specifications. First specification with just any migrant, just the sum of all migrants settled in a destination. And the second specification where I have just the migrants for a specific origin, and this origin is destination for export flows or origin for import flows, right? We run both for exports and imports, but we focus our analysis mostly for the exports. So we use the instruments because there could be a reverse causality, omitted variable bias, or something else. And of course, this is a classical way in this literature. In the migration literature, this is called Shiftshare instrument, inspired of CART 2009, and recent application in Jager et al. 2018. So this is basically a Shiftshare instrument. We need to use the past settlement of earlier migrants in a certain year. The year should be enough distinct from the year in question. So we use 2005, but we also try 2000 and 1990. And the more we are going to the past, the less data we have. So here in this formula, it's decomposed in 2 components: shift, current population by origin country, and education. And also we try all the migrants together, or we also split by education. We also present the number of results by qualification of migrants. Then we also have the share, this first component, the 2005 spatial distribution of migrants by origin country and education, or not specifically by education. So here I should have probably omitted this word education from the slide, not necessarily by education, but there is a version with education and also without education. So we rely on the exclusion restriction of the instrument, so that in economic conditions that motivated earlier migrants to settle in some area are uncorrelated with current economic conditions. And this has to be tested. Yeah, we did not test this so much. We just rely on this assumption, but this is in our to-do list. Then there should be sufficient time lag between the shift and the share. This we respect in any case. And then as robustness for just 13 European countries, we try the instrument based on population distribution in 1990. So the more we go to the past, the less data we have. All right, so let me introduce some baseline results. So on this table, we present just all the impact of any migrant together, all the migrants together at a certain destination. We have in columns 1 and 2 OLS results, and in columns 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 2 SLS results. So we have different instruments. In column 3 and 4, for 2 SLS results, we have the instrument for 2005, and then we have the instrument for 1990 in columns 5 and 6. And 1 and 2 are just the OLS results. In every second column, in column 2, 4, 6, we introduce a stock of natives. We believe that this control is important because it shows basically the size of our region. Let's say this is a population, and all natives plus all migrants represent the total number of people. And of course, for whenever we work with the 2SLS specification, we instrument also stock of natives by the instrument in the past, right? So we instrument in column 4 and 6, the stock of natives are also instrumented. Then we have a set of gravity controls, destination country and origin country fixed effects. I should mention this right away. We could not have origin or destination region fixed effect for the obvious reason, because we are working with just a cross section 2013. So origin region or destination region most likely kills fixed effects, kill everything that we need to show. And basically we tried, hoping that maybe if we just control just at the origin and some variation left at the destination, or we control the destination, there is some variation left at the origin. But no, nothing as such works, and Statia complains, and basically basically we should add 1 more year and then repeat this exercise, adding the fixed effect for the region. But instead, what we tried for regions is that we introduced the sizes of the regions, the GDP. Well, GDP could be correlated with the stocks of natives. We control for the GDP of the regions, which is also proxy for development. And then we find that the results are more or less stable. So overall, across all of these columns, and this specification is stable, and whatever we try, this one remains stable. So we have the positive outcome of the migrants. The more migrants we have, the more of export we observe from the given host region receiving those migrants. Although the magnitude changes, and the magnitude is getting smaller when we control for the stock of natives. So we believe that the stock of native is something which is important. And basically, the more is the total population, the more region could produce and then export. So this is our explanation. Okay, so that was pretty much first and very naive table. Then just OLS, but I did what is kind of common in the trade literature is the Poisson estimation, because there are zeros between regions of the trade between regions, etc. The Poisson's estimations are also confirm our result. And here I also presented the result for import flow. So in column 3 and 4, we have also Poisson with for the import trade flow. We conclude that, generally speaking, the import flow has somehow more moderate. The migrants have somehow more moderate effect in the Poisson specification, although in the OLS specification we have a little bit higher outcomes for the import flows than for the export flows in the magnitudes. Then we move on, trying to explain this effect. And our key explanation is related to the network effect. A migrant from the certain origin, so let's say some Austrian living in Vienna, comes to Paris and basically then wants to consume some goods originated from Vienna or from Austria, and then there will be more export and import trade flows between these two regions. So this is our key channel that we explore, and this is in line with the paper of Steingres 2018 for Canadian for US states, basically published in Canadian Review of Economics. Right. So here on this table, we test for that mentioned channel for just only 3 countries for which we know the exact origins of the migrants, from which we could split the migrants between the origins. So for Germany, France, and Spain. And the result is more or less stable, although in column 2, still something is going on, and we are out of the significity for this column 2 when we control for a stack of natives, although everything is back on track when we are looking at the column 4, where we basically instrument for the past settlement. Then I showed one more table. What about when we control for some characteristic of the region, right, itself, because the reader could be puzzled by the fact that we have just fixed effects for destination country or origin country, but still, what about the regions themselves? And then one more characteristic about the region is the region region of origin GDP per capita, for example. Also, we have GDP of destination. When we introduce this control, the OLS results are no longer significant, but our IV results are still significant and important, although the magnitudes are decreasing. Okay, so then we try to cutting this sample into pieces. We try to subsample EU to EU trade. On this column, on this table, there are columns 3 and 4, and just all trade is in columns 1 and 2. And then we also try to subsample between EU to non-EU in columns 5 and 6. Whatever we do, the results are stable, positive, significant, although we observe that for EU to non-EU trade, the effect is much more important, right? So this effect is more pronounced when we consider the trade flows with outside of the Europe as compared to just any trade flow or the trade flows within the Europe. So the guess why is so might be as following. Basically, the migrants could have some preference over exact good from exact specific exotic origin, and then this changes a lot the trade flow. Unfortunately, we could not test this just for any country. We could test this only for those 3 countries: France, Spain, and Germany. Then we split the migrants according with their background, and we found out that higher educated migrants have stronger effects on trade. And in column 1 and 2, we have the share of high qualified migrant in total migration flow. Total migrant stock, and controlling for stock of all migrants. Then we address this under a little bit different angle. We just look at the stock of high qualified migrants in 3 and 4. We're looking at the stocks of low qualified migrants in 5 and 6. We conclude right away that basically 3 and 4, the numbers in 3 and 4 are higher than the numbers in 5 and 6. And when we control all together, we also in 7 and 8, we found out that basically the high qualified migrants are indeed driving the outcome result. So the high qualified migrants might have higher income so that they could purchase some specific goods which could be more expensive from a certain origin. And then high qualified migrants are also employed at the production. And then basically the logic is that we observe that overall more productive firms are exporting. This is kind of a known result from the trade literature. And then we might think that basically more qualified migrants are also attracted by higher qualified firms, and then more qualified migrants work at the high qualified firms, at the higher high productive firms. At those higher productive firms have higher productivity, and then they export more. So this is the logic behind this effect that we are observing here. Although we should test it, this I know we should test it with some firm level data from Orbis or from somewhere. This is yet to be done, or we should somehow try to arrange this at the either firm level or the origin level, at the regional level, and so that this should be also tested. Then we show that basically migrants boost imports. This is already demonstrated in the Poisson specification. Okay, so let me conclude. I think that's pretty much the timing, about 40 minutes. So we found out that migrants boost exports and imports for their regions. So we found out that elasticities are larger than those found in national studies, even after controlling for the for some not fixed effects by regions, but some characteristics of the region. The estimated elasticities are still larger. And then we export the heterogeneity across education of migrants and across destinations or origins like EU versus non-EU. Of course, there is a lot to be done. This is pretty much the paper in progress. So we need to find out how to export transaction costs and knowledge diffusion under a different angle, not just assuming that there are migrants from certain background, but also some migrants. We need to test, to find a way how to test it. Then we need to produce a couple of more papers about regional heterogeneity. And then possible extensions should be with the FDI. So complementarities or substitution could happen between migration, FDI, and trade. We have some data on the FDIs, and we are yet on the stage to deal somehow with this data. All right. Thank you for attention, and any suggestions are welcome.
Thank you, Evgeny, for the nice presentation. It was an interesting analysis and paper that you have. So let's see who has any comments or questions. Feel free to raise your hands and ask your questions or comments. So yeah, Oliver.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Oliver.
Hi. Hello, hi, Evgeny. Could you tell us something about the data source you're using about the regional trade flows? Because I think they are not reported trade flows, but they are estimated, right? Aren't they estimated from also using some sort of gravity model? And would that create a problem for your estimation too?
Yeah, that's an absolutely reasonable question, and I should probably think how to deal with this problem. In fact, that's not observed trade flow. There is some methodology behind the exact way how they recovered. I think using some productivity information from this paper of Poisson et al. 2019. So I don't quite remember the exact procedure that they use, and yeah, I should specify this and basically yeah, for the next talk I will be more prepared to address this question. Anyway, thanks. And unfortunately, we don't have observed trade flows for each region to region.
So in this case, Evgenii, why not using the country level data?
Yeah, like country level would have just few trade flows. That's the thing. So probably
you have also migration, bilateral migration at the country level.
That was done. That was done already in the literature, okay. Right? So it's like done some decades ago, but maybe for like a kind of motivation, just a little motivation, then we just repeat some exercise, probably summing up all the trade flows that we have in the regions in this recovered data, and trying to compare with observed trade flows from Ghodsi or from Comtrade. And then we show that basically this could be a somehow valid trade flow, and then we pass on to the regional level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you had also another important aspect, which was high quality labor. So I'm not sure if in the literature before that you're referring to, they had high quality labor because it's different. And as you say, it's also related to FDI. So
yeah,
capital goods, intermediate goods could have been the target rather than food or consumer goods. You know, it's different.
Yeah, we have this specification by sectors. I did not show the table, but basically we show that the high educated migrants have more impact for the trade of the sectors or more capital intensive sectors. Mm-hmm. We also have this split of the trade flows by sectors, and there are, I think, about 10 sectors overall or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, by the sections like A, B, C, D, etc. Sections of the industry. So unfortunately, a lot of goods inside, so that we could not really split by capital good or intermediate goods. But at least we might know which sector is more capital intensive or which is less capital intensive.
Mm-hmm. Well, because in that case, we return to Oliver's question that if the bilateral trade flows at the regional level is generated using an estimation, which is a gravity estimation dependent on regional characteristics like GDP, then distance, then other characteristics, then using them, you're again using the estimated value on the left-hand side, and again using the independent variable that explain those estimated fitted gravity, you know. But maybe if it is done first as a motivation at the country level bilaterally to show that yes, there is something like that, and then you also show it at the regional level, that will be a good positive addition.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I confirm we should look at that. But just a little bit to defend what we're doing, I think that still anyway the migrants were not used to generate the trade flow, so there is at least some exogenous thing which is related to migrants. And probably the point of Oliver is that basically gravity controls are no longer that valid per se, but at least fixed effects like origin, destination should be valid, because the origin and destination should explain somehow the attractiveness of the trade, should explain the reasons why the countries trade. So we may do as following: just throw away any gravity controls, leave only the fixed effects, and then add the migrants. That's one exercise, and then second exercise is just try comparing observed trade flow with those generated Thyssen trade flow.
And you said you only use 1 year.
1 year.
But it's the data source would be available for multiple years.
Yes, we did not get the data yet for 2017.
Okay, but this is public data.
Last time I checked, it was not that public. Basically, Jem got it through his network.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that was shared by I think by Thyssen. So yeah.
Because if you have multiple years, then you could use also a region fixed effects, and then you would don't have to use the gravity controls, and also eliminate the problem that, or at least half eliminate the problem that the trade flows were estimated.
Yeah, right. We are hoping to have this data as soon as possible to improve the validity.
And another note, the map you showed, it has very few regions standing out. There's Bavaria, Paris. I would have imagined that the other capital regions are also more standing out, like Berlin, Vienna. I mean, Madrid is also very popular, should have large trade flows, right? These are the sums of imports and exports.
Yeah, those are for sum of export and import. Yes, so those are just the sum. And so this map shows that basically the Paris region is very intensive in the. So we have maybe this map is not very informative. It's just I wanted to map some regions that we use, and basically it shows that basically some regions are trading more than the other regions. On overall scale. So just that probably we need to divide by the population or something like that. So that's just the absolute values, right? So otherwise it might be not that informative, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more comments or questions from other people? Well, I have a few questions actually. In the first table that you showed, column 5 and 6 have smaller observations. Is it the sample that has only those 3 EU members?
No, we have just little less of countries with any available data in 1990. So even the total stock was not available for a lot of countries.
So that's because of
just
the
instrument. So 3 and 4, 2005, 5 and 6, 1990, and the quality of the data degrades quite fast when we are picking some previous year's data.
And the instrument I didn't fully understand. So you're instrumenting the stock of migrants using the information that was in year 2005, for instance.
Yeah, the share. Yeah.
But
so
what it is exactly? What is it?
So yeah. So this is the formula on this page 9 on the slide. Do you see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
So we need to basically we construct M Shiftshare measure. We apply just a common formula, which could be a split. So for each origin O, so we construct one measure for each origin O, where we suppose for each origin we measure current migrant stock, and we need to instrument this current migrant stock, right? So we work for each region O of the region of trade, right? O. So for each region, we do the following. So we do the share MOD origin destination, and the time T0. 0 is here 2005 or 1990, and we have this share of all destinations of the migrants from a given destination in the origin O, share for each OD in total MO at the time T, right? And then we sum up for each region.
So let's say Vienna is origin, Paris is destination.
Yeah, yeah.
Then MODT divided by MOT is the share of migrants from Vienna to Paris divided by migrants from Vienna.
Yeah, like assuming that we want to measure for Vienna.
Yeah.
So MOT is the total number of migrants in the year T0 in 2005 or 1990, whatever, previous T0, right? So MO is the total number of migrants in this year. MOD is the number of migrants between Paris and Vienna, exact one flow, Paris Vienna in this year, right? And then
so what does it tell us? It tells us that people who were migrating from Vienna to Paris in 2005, that ratio is
same ratio, yes.
That ratio is causing still a similar ratio from people in Vienna to migrate to Paris.
Yes. So instead of current ratio, instead of current share, we use the past share, right? Instead of having MODT, we divided by MOT, we replaced by MODT0 by MOT0, right? And we multiply this share, the past share, by the current migration stock MODT, right?
But the thing is, it is stock of migrants. So stock of migrants today is accumulation of past stock of migrants, you know? So stock of migrants in 2005, of course, it is affecting...
Well, not necessarily. Maybe they went out. Not necessarily, yeah. But the assumption is that basically now the current stock of migrants could be endogenous with respect to trade flow and vice versa, or with there could be any other factors which basically impact both of them. But in the past, it's not likely that the current trade is kind of correlated with the past settlement. So, and the more in past we go, the less probable that this is correlated, right? And so we kind of shifting the distribution of the migrant shares. We are mixing them up across the origins for a given year.
And you provide only one test, right? So you have only one single exogenous instrument in your, so it's perfectly identified, so it doesn't need to have Sargon or Hansen test, but you have the weak identification test by Craig-Donald, which is,
those ones, right?
Yeah, so it is not the p-value, or it doesn't tell us if it is rejected or not.
Oh yeah, that's those numbers. Yeah, we took those Craig-Donald and Kleiberger and Papp as statistics, and there is a certain threshold above which everything is okay, and so those values are just very large, and so that we don't share p-values, but we share those f-stats, and those f-stats are just way too large, so that everything is okay with this instrument.
Okay, great. Yeah, and that was my concern, because when you add GDP, for instance,
GDP.
you have only one single instrument.
This
and
one.
then the number of exogenous covariates increases, but the number of instruments do not increase. So then your instrumented variable becomes significant.
And the values of these tests are decreasing. Basically, F stats are decreasing. So meaning that, but I think they're still above the threshold.
Okay.
But we also trying with more regional characteristics, and I should pay attention to that. But basically, that's a good remark, because we also have other regional things, not just the original GDP. So maybe we should show one specification with more controls and showing whether it's still okay or not with the instrument.
And one more thing is, in the sample size of PPML is much smaller, or was I wrong?
PPML, where is PPML? Let me show it.
This one.
It's here. Is it no, like 4? Oh yeah.
It's much larger. Yeah.
It's larger. Well, because we had zeros.
Zeros, yeah.
And now we have all the zeros in it here. Yeah.
Why not including so for the OLS or 2SLS, why not including something like log of dependent variable +1 or hyperbolic sign transformation that includes 0?
This hyperbolic we should try for sure. Yeah. But with the log +1, I don't know.
Yeah, or in addition to that, why not having 2-stage PPML?
Okay.
So
that's
that
a good remark.
You run the first stage using either PPML or OLS. I think it's better to do it using PPML, and you take the fitted value and put it in the second stage.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, we thought about hyperbolic sign, but somehow it flew away from our attention. So we should definitely do it. And a very good remark about Poisson, which has the procedure with a 2-stage.
Yeah, you just need to do the 2-stage yourself.
No, right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other question, remark from the audience? Then I think that's it. So thank you, Evgenii.
Thank you.
And it was an interesting presentation. I learned a lot, and I hope that other people who are here and listening, they also enjoyed this seminar. And anytime you come to Vienna, it will be great to see you again, and maybe we can have a pint of beer together. And
yeah, sure.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for attending. In the first week of May, we will have the next seminar. So I hope I can see you there again, and have a nice evening.